Okay, well, thank you and welcome to this Kaipara District Council meeting for Wednesday, the 25th of March. And we're streaming live from the Tangatarori Community Complex. Rain is imminent, so we'll see what happens today. First up, I'd like to welcome our new governance advisor, William, who has just arrived on Monday, and he's in the hot seat already today. So thanks for stepping up for us and rolling with it. So we have one apology from Councillor Szymanski. I'm going to happy to move that we accept his apology. Can I have a seconder, please? Second. Councillor Canton. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. And we have a confirmation of our agenda. There have been some changes to the order. And I think that the latest version represents what we're doing today, Mr. Chief Executive. In the printed version that I have here, we have the item 4.1 as review fees and charges. Is that what you have? So the agenda here that's been issued is 4.1 review fees and charges, 4.2 legislative delegations. It's different from the run sheet that we've got here.
Yes, Your Worship. Correct.
So how are we to convey to the elected members what the order of items is that you're proposing, which is different from their agenda?
Item 4.1 is Northland Water's done well, 4.2 is annual plan, and then 4.3 is from the review fees and charges.
Okay, so we're taking what in the agenda is items 4.9 is moving to the first agenda point. Yes?
Yes.
So 4.9 is going to become 4.1.
Yes.
And annual plan currently, where's the annual plan?
It's released under separate cover, which is why.
Oh, okay. So the annual plan report was released under separate cover, and that's going to become 4.2.
Correct.
And then the remaining items on the agenda are going to proceed as per the agenda, but they'll be bumped down so that item 4.1 in the agenda, which is review fees and charges, will become 4.3. And then everything thereafter will have its numbering updated by two spots.
Correct. Yep. As per the email sent at 4:46 p.m. today.
All right.
Being elected members.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm happy to confirm the agenda on that basis. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Rogers, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Does anybody have any conflicts of interest to declare? The conflicts of interest. Okay, so we will next move to the public forum, and speakers in the public forum will have 5 minutes to speak to council, and then up to 5 minutes for any questions on their presentation from elected members. And the first person to speak to us this morning is John Richards. He's speaking on restoring harmony. John, welcome. You could come up to the front table and make your presentation. Thank you.
Morning. The title of my address this morning is Restoring Harmony. If we go back to the time of the KDC administration, before the last administration, we get to the last year of that administration. It was also the time of the Freedom Village in Wellington, when like-minded people from every community in New Zealand came together in one of the most significant events in New Zealand's history. People from Dargaville went to Freedom Village, and when there teamed up and talked. Following their return to Dargaville, it was reported to a group of people who were unable to go to Freedom Village, that one of the people who was at Freedom Village was a female KDC councillor, and that she was the subject of bullying by the mayor at that time. A group of people then decided to attend KDC meetings in Dargaville to support this female elected member, and we witnessed the bullying firsthand. With the election pending, this elected member decided to stand for the position of mayor. I was approached to be part of a group to support her bid, to which I agreed. It quickly transpired that the active group was just her and me. The upside was that I got to attend most of the election meetings with her, and at those meetings I was able to meet all of the candidates. One such election meeting was at the Dargaville Club. Over half of the candidates had given their speeches, and there was Gordon, Karen, Craig, another Gordon, Mark and Victoria left to talk. When it was Craig Jepson's turn to talk, he started his address by saying that if he was elected mayor, he would run a secular council. There would be no karakia and no other religious prayers to start the council meetings. He was elected mayor, and now he had a contract to fulfill, and he stopped the karakia and any other religious happenings before council meetings. People have short memories. The election was in November. The votes were counted and finalised in November. The election was in October. The votes were counted and finalised in November. The elected members were sworn in December, comprising a mayor in his first term in office, 5 new councillors, and a chief executive new to that role. There was a summer break and then a cyclone causing lots of damage in West Kaipara, and there were 2 extreme weather events causing considerable damage in Mangawhai, all for a largely new council to come to grips with. Civil Defence issued warnings that it was dangerous to travel. The residents in Poto were cut off and needed supplies and communication equipment. The new mayor arranged for supplies to be procured and ignored the safety warnings and drove from Mangawhai to Dargaville, loaded supplies for the residents of Poto into an army truck and drove with the army personnel to Poto to deliver the supplies. I don't know Poto, but I have a friend who knows Poto well. I asked her what the makeup of Poto was, and she said that the community was mainly Maori. Slander. Mayor Jepson, during his term as mayor, has been subjected to a smear campaign from the likes of Dargaville Residents and Ratepayers Group, and from certain Maori people, and from others just passing on gossip. During the 2024 Dargaville Christmas Parade, Mayor Jepson borrowed a bicycle from a Tongan onlooker and rode that bike in the Dargaville Christmas Parade. The removing of the special seat for a Maori councillor also generated acrimony from those who couldn't understand the mayor's rationale that Maori people had adequate talents to be elected in their own right, and that it was demeaning to Maori to be treated like special needs children. By removing the special seat for Maori, Mayor Jepson gave Maoridom their dignity back. From risking his personal safety by making a lengthy road trip during a cyclone to get supplies to a predominantly Maori community, the example of borrowing a bicycle from a Tongan person to ride in the Dargaville Christmas Parade and abolishing the special seat to give Maori their dignity back, I have demonstrated that Mayor Jepson is not a racist, as people who should know better have slandered him. By fulfilling a contract made during the election campaign, he has demonstrated that he is a man of integrity. This is the end of the matter. Harmony has now been restored, and I wish this council well in their endeavours to continue to make Kaipara District a fantastic place where we can all live together in harmony. As a footnote, I will point out that Mr. Jepson did not know that I was going to deliver this address. Thanking you, I am John Richards.
Thank you very much, John. Does anyone have any questions of John? Well, thank you very much for speaking to us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Don Windley and Brittany Bray, and they are presenting an item on the Mangawhai Players and the Otamatia Repertory Theatre desire to see a community theatre built in Mangawhai. Welcome, Don and Brittany.
Morning, Mr Mayor. Good morning, councillors. My name is Don Rindley and I'm chairman of Mangawhai Players Incorporated, based in Mangawhai. We're a theatre group. Susan Dugdale is our founding member and director of Mangawhai Players. Brittany Bray here is from the Otamatea Repertory Theatre. She's on the committee of the Otamatea Repertory Theatre. Together, we'd like to make a presentation to you guys. We would like to have a community arts centre in Mangawhai. Currently, we're bouncing around from village hall to village hall, trying to find places that are available for a start, and then ones that are suitable, and not one of them is really particularly suitable. We would love to see a community arts centre built in Mangawhai. We need help from the council, we need land, we need to fundraise, we need to find benefactors. I'd like to let Susan make her presentation first, and I will sit down and then it'll be Brittany's chance.
Thanks, Don. And if you all want to sit down or bring another chair over, you're welcome to do so if that's more comfortable for you.
I'm happy to stand.
Okay.
We're fine. Yes, thank you. So the impetus behind this was, as Don said, was to bring together a collection of both people and intents to build an arts centre or a hub that housed theatre, music, dance, practical arts, life drawing, whatever. Everything called collectively arts in one place. There are precedents for this. The nearest one is in Kerikeri. It's the Turner Centre, which was built out of basically community drive for over decades, until finally it came to fruition in 2005 and has been running for the last 20 odd years. It has all of those things. What we see being the benefit to the community is that not only do we house and support in a very practical way the creative arts, but we also set up a place which draws more in. So we make it available for international and national touring shows. It becomes more of a destination. At the moment, as Don says, we skip from little place to little place to little place to little place right around the community. For instance, I'm putting on a production of Midsummer's Night's Dream. I've just started it at the moment. Now, to get that on the go, I looked at halls in a radius out from Mangawhai of sort of 30 minutes. There is nothing there that will really suit. So what we're ending up with is Hakaru Hall, which will be great, and in the most extraordinary kind of challenging staging, which is good, but it adds so much more stress to things to have to work around and work around and work around and work around and work around. What else about this? I think it's just, to go back to the beginning, it's the collective and bringing together the collective and making it open, welcoming, fit for purpose, multicultural, a big, beautiful celebration of arts in our community for everybody. Thank you. Yes.
So yes, it is for everybody. So if you're into visual art, we're hoping, our vision is, and we need your help, obviously, that there'll be a large foyer that there can be displays, visual arts displays, as well as using it for conferences. We're hoping to have a theatre that's well equipped with appropriate things to put on productions, not just for our small groups, but also for the schools, any other conferences that may want to occur in the area. We're hoping to have a dance theatre with appropriate flooring, mirrors. They're currently a dance class operates out of the Domain in Mangawhai, and they just hope for it to get dark enough that they can use the windows for mirrors. Rehearsal rooms that are able to be hired out for people who need it, maybe the council. Music practice rooms with appropriate walls that work for us. I live in Mangawhai currently. I have 2 children. I drive 40 minutes over to Mangataroto to the Otamatia Theatre so that we can take part in the shows there. Upcoming Mary Poppins, if anyone wants to come and watch. Yeah, really we're hoping that this is going to be a true arts centre with a multitude of rooms that are suitable for every different aspect of the arts that works for everybody in the area. Am I being dinged?
Right, no, we're being lenient on the time, that's fine. Yeah, wonderful. No, not at all.
Thank you for listening. We're really enthusiastic. We're really wanting to put in the work, and what we need is support, your help and support to make it happen for our community.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Should just have 1 minute just to finish off.
Yes.
We are both Mangawhai Players Incorporated and the Otamatia Repertory Theatre Incorporated are both professional groups. We've done quite a few shows already. We've both got a governance, we're incorporated societies, we're financially stable, and we have good governance. So we're professional people to talk to. So we look forward to your help if possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Don. Maybe if you just hang around and we'll see if we've got some questions. I will have to admit that I do have an association because I played the role of the boy soprano Oliver Twist in the musical Oliver in the Otamatia Repertory Theatre in the early 1980s. You're back.
Perfect example of why the arts are so important for everybody, because perhaps without that experience, you wouldn't be here today. Comfortable speaking.
Wouldn't have the confidence to speak, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions, and I think there's going to be more, so we'll go to Councillor Lambeth next. And so could you just speak to us briefly about your ideas about how you might seek funding more?
Obviously, we haven't got enough money to build a building ourselves. We'd have to go to the community, find benefactor or funding from Give a Little or whatever funding we can arrange. It's going to be a long-term thing. It's going to take a while. But if we had the land to start with, that's a very good start, because then there is funding available through national bodies that we can go to. As long as we have a land and a plan and a desire, that can be available.
And so in terms of that, what footprint, square meterage and height of building are you anticipating?
Yes, well, square meterage is depending on where the land is available, but certainly needs car parking. That's one important part of it. And the height of the building is quite tall. I have a plan here for actual measurements that you could have a look at that is just the theatre part, but we need to have that sort of vision where we're incorporating the theatre and other areas, but it can be done modularly if it's financially limited.
If you have a concept that you've prepared, even if it's preliminary, could you email that through to Kelly or?
We've got,
yes.
I have prepared
Okay.
bits and pieces which we've anchored back into research.
Cool. Okay, if you can
So I'm happy
through,
to
that'd be
do that too.
okay. Thank you.
We have gone out to the community asking for support from other groups,
Right.
maybe dance group or whatever.
Mm.
Got a wonderful letter of support from the school, Mangawhai Beach School. More will come, I'm sure. It's early days and we're just on the beginning of this exciting adventure.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, I don't think there's much more for me to ask. I want to know, have you started a fighting fund? Have you started fundraising? Have you looked at proposed sites? Do you have any proposals for us there?
We haven't started fundraising yet. We're looking for support from the community at the moment. The site that we're looking at is council land, hoping that council may be able to help us. And it's between the museum and the club in Mangawhai. So there is land there that the council owns, and I know you might have to shift your council officers to part of that too. So the land is under pressure with what land you do own. So, yes.
Because one of the big constraints, or one of the big pressures you have is a massive influx of parking
Yes.
required over a small period of time.
Yes.
So, and are you looking at other daytime businesses or car parks that aren't used in the evening when you'd probably use them as, you know, that's a way to, but yeah, you're obviously onto it and you're obviously, yeah.
We have done some research into this, yes, and the other possibility is Ehrlich Park, but that has got a caveat against it for use for recreational and sports purposes. But there is some land behind Ehrlich Park, apparently was told today by your property manager that it's quite unstable land, so maybe not very good for building on. But any options that you guys can suggest, come up with, I'd be really, really pleased to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, are there any other questions from elected members? Well, thanks very much for making the journey over to speak to us, and hopefully you can return before this weather arrives.
Yeah,
It's looking
hopefully.
lovely out there now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you
Yeah.
for listening.
Thank you.
I can email it as well, but
Yeah,
if you
email
want,
would be great.
if you want the
Yeah.
paper copy, you're welcome to it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now moving to item 3, which is the confirmation of the open minutes from the 26th of February council meeting. Could I have a mover, please, that's a correct record? Thank you, Councillor Jepson, and a seconder, please. Councillor Tani, thank you. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Okay, well, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And so now we are moving to our first decision item today. And item 4.1 is the Northland Water Done Well commitment point number 1.
Good morning, Your Worship and councillors. We've got Glenn Raynham online, who's going to help with this presentation. So Northern Water's Done Well. Kaipara started its journey in March 2025, looking at the water and wastewater service delivery options, and agreed with Whangarei District Council and Far North District Council that establishing a joint CCO was the best option for to look at for all the councils. Our council has a healthy balance sheet, but we forecast a big capital expenditure program over the next 10 to 30 years. And most of the financial metrics we met, except for one, which is the borrowing limit. And we know that we're much stronger joining up with Whangarei District Council and Far North District Council. Our 3 councils are ahead of many in this process, in agreement in forming a CCO. And the CCO itself is to be established on the 1st of May 2026, 2 months earlier than initially thought. I'll get Glenn, he's been helping our elected members with their understanding of the constitution of the new CCO company and the shareholders agreement, and I'll hand over to him to point out the main points that you should be aware of. Glenn, are you there? Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Your Worship and councillors. in your agenda pack this morning, there is a cover report, and attached to that is a common paper that's been put together by the project steering group that's been working on establishing this CCO. And they've got a common paper there that's going in front of all three councils this particular month, looking to pass that first commitment stage, which is essentially confirming or endorsing the foundation documents. So today, commitment 1 is about endorsing both the Constitution and the shareholders agreement. And work will be done putting the final work together on that over the next month to bring back to you to the April council meeting to approve those documents. So this is about those two key documents. We have talked about it earlier in the month at a council briefing session, but I thought this morning I'd just briefly go over again the key points associated with both those documents. Also talk about the resolutions you're being asked to consider, and then finish with the next steps, what will happen from here. So if we think about the Constitution, and attached to the agenda is the most recent edition as at the time of printing the agenda. It's essentially the rule book for how the CCO will operate. So it defines the company's purpose, powers, the governance arrangements, the reporting obligations, the share structures. So things like it's tight parameters around it can operate. So it's limited to water services. It's not a general purpose commercial company. So it's focusing on the safe delivery and reliability of water services across the three council areas. It's also very important that it's captured in there that in fact that all the water infrastructure owned by the company must remain in public ownership. It also has in there, as you'll be aware, this idea around ring fencing by service area. That will be they'll looked at a 3.5 year stage where that review will take place, but it is ring fenced at that point. It creates a 2-class share structure in there. So the Class A, they call it, are the ones that carry the voting rights, and they are equal voting right shares for the three councils. Kaipara, Far North and Whangarei have equal voting rights. Class B shares are those shares that are distributed based on the net assets that are taken into the company. It talks about in the Constitution that governance is through an independent board. You will recall that the influence, and I'll come on to this with the shareholders agreement, that there will be a shareholders representative group that will outline the influence that they have over that board and company. So the council will influence through the draft water services strategy, through their annual budget, but more importantly through a statement of expectations that will be an annual statement that the shareholders representative group will issue, which will provide the steer that you want the company to have for that coming year. So it's an important document that's not part of the foundations one, and we will talk about that a bit later as we work through the month of April. So the shareholders agreement, the draft shareholders agreement you've got there. The key points for you to note is that this is essentially the governance and the relationship contract that you have with each other, with the other three councils, and also with the board of the CCO. So it talks about the establishment of this group, the shareholders representative group. So up to this point, there has been the elected members steering group that the three parties, the three councils have contributed membership into. The shareholders representative group will take over that group and have its own legal standing, and there will be the appointment of 2 representatives from each council onto that group. The election of those 2 representatives will be part of the April's resolutions that will be asked for you to be put. So the shareholders' main job is oversight rather than day-to-day management. So you've got the appointing of the directors, making sure you appoint the directors that meet your skills matrix, you appoint the board chair, you approve and oversee the reporting from the company back to the various councils. As part of the shareholders representative group is a schedule within the document called Reserve Matters, which is quite a powerful schedule, which sets out some key parts in terms of how the company can operate that the shareholders have dictated and can only be changed by the shareholders' change. So there's a number of items in there, such things as the ring fencing. So there'll be a review, and that it can only change if the shareholders agree to that reserve matter. And there's a number of items in there that require all three councils to agree, and there is other matters in there that require a majority vote. The other framework that is sitting within the shareholders agreement is one around the transfer of the assets from council into the entity. So that we're still working through the main fine-tuning elements of that, which is why the final document that comes back to you in April will have that nutted out. So we know exactly where we're going. The document that you have seen and the one attached to you is pretty well there, just some fine-tuning still to do. If I take you back to the key points that we're asking for you to do, is to essentially confirm your commitment in principle to the formation of the CCO to provide drinking water and wastewater services in Northland. We're asking you to endorse in principle the shareholders agreement between the Far North District Council, Whangarei District Council and Kaipara District Council to establish the CCO. We're asking you to endorse in principle the constitution of the CCO as a foundation document for the entity, and endorse that the Establishment Advisory Group will become the first board of the CCO when the company is incorporated. And we're looking, the date of incorporation will be a date in May, early May, that will be post all the councils having their April council meetings, which will be the approval of these documents. Today is endorsing the documents we were up to, and to proceed with finalisation so that the approval can come at the April meeting. As I say, at the April meeting, not only will it be the approval of these documents, but it'll also be the council nominating which two of your members you want to be on the shareholders representative group. I understand, I haven't seen it, but I understand you may have a resolution around that point this morning, but I'll now hand you back to Sue unless you've got any questions for me.
Okay, thanks very much, Glenn. Do we have any questions of Glenn from the elected members? Yes, Councillor Canton.
Good morning. Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, Glenn. Can you just run me through some of the things that might be restricted? What are they called here?
Reserved matters.
Reserved matters.
Absolutely. Let me just bring that up.
I think
So
that's Schedule 7.
Schedule 7 of the shareholders agreement, which is one of those attachments that you've got there. I'm just quickly flicking through it as well.
Is that in the shareholders
No,
agreement?
that's transfer principle.
Yeah, I'm just.
That's transfer principle. Schedule 3, sorry. Excuse me, Schedule 3.
Page 23.
Which one is it? Which is it? The attachments?
Attachment B. Page 20.
Schedule 3
Schedule 3.
of the shareholders agreement.
That is
Page
page
151, if that helps.
or 155 of the agenda PDF.
Oh, here we are.
Is it
Okay.
orange?
Yeah, that's one. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to go through that, Glenn?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you'll see on the, if I move to the right-hand side to start with, in terms of the approval requirement, you'll see that there is a number there that have the word unanimous resolution. And what that means is that all three councils need to agree for there to be a change in that particular matter. Where there is a ordinary resolution, then that's an ordinary resolution in terms of the Companies Act, which is essentially a majority. And a special resolution is acquired under the Companies Act, which is 75%. So effectively in that race, it's an unanimous resolution as well.
Is there
And
any
then they've
reason that
got-
the old,
Sorry,
can I
no,
just ask, is there any reason that an alteration of rights or privileges or conditions attaching to the shares would be done as an ordinary resolution rather than a unanimous one?
that would be what is standard under the Companies Act, but there is no reason why, if that is a concern, that we can't go back to the next elected member steering group meeting and have a wider discussion around that point and get some legal advice from our legal advisors that are working with us in establishing the CCO.
I just can consider that a pretty big change. That you'd think it would be by unanimous decision rather than ordinary, even in this case that is actually also unanimous.
Yeah, okay. We will we'll take that back. Absolutely.
Okay.
It doesn't I think take away from the ability to approve in principle today. Because as I say, we will be coming back to this table at the April meeting for the final approval.
Okay, are there any other questions for Glenn? Yeah. Other questions for Glenn? Any further questions for Sue? No. Okay, well, that was simple. Okay, thank you, Sue. And Glenn, you can stand down.
Thank you very much.
So we now need to move to our decision making.
Sorry, I put through a proposed amendment to the staff recommendation. I'm just wondering if that's what we're going to get up on screen. There we are.
So are you moving what's up on the screen?
Can that be blown up a bit, please, Kelly?
We might just have to read through this to see. So the recommendation in the staff recommendation in the agenda is the addition there is the red. Correct?
That's correct.
You read that?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
So moved by Councillor Canton and seconded by Councillor Lambert. Okay, so Councillor Canton, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Worship. Being a new councillor, I've worked pretty hard trying to get my head around this Northland Waters done well. I think there's a lot to digest. And Sue will attest, I've been doing a little bit of digging around how we're in the position we're in, where we're joining, and I can see that we're moving down that track, and I think that has positives. I'm also positive that we as elected representatives are at the end responsible for the oversight of whatever entity does end up running our wastewater and water services. And like it or not, it's a massive part of what we do now. And handing it over to another organisation, I think, requires the same level of governance that we're providing at the moment to it. There's a level of control that I think we're already losing by joining. And that's not just about providing water, it's also determining about where growth happens, when it happens. You can't put new houses in places if there isn't water supply and wastewater to them. So there is a lot of planning control that we lose. So due to that, and after reading through this, I was a little bit concerned to see that the governance and which is effectively the shareholder remuneration, shareholder representative group, won't be made up or choose not to be made up of elected representatives. And I don't think that's correct. I think that if we're going to be handing over directorship to, no doubt, a board of competent people to run the organisation, then the people that are at the end final governance say, and also the owners of the business itself, should be picked from the elected representatives. And so that's where I've got to with that. And that's all we're really saying. That amendment is, rather than one must be an elected representative, both will be. And that's my position.
Thank you, Councillor Canton. Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, I can't add too much more to that, but it's right to the heart of democracy. We're here to represent the people. If we don't represent them accordingly, every 3 years we'll be told so on where we go. It's vitally important that, as far as democracy in this country goes, that be in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lambeth. Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, just to add to that, with decision making, I think ratepayers might believe that we're totally handing over control. We still have quite a bit of input as a district, as a council. For example, Councillor Canton alluded to the fact that, we have situations where we might have growth occurring, where we need to be able to say to the organisation, as a council, we want this growth to happen here, and we want you to allocate the infrastructure needs for that growth, and that should come from elected members. So that I thoroughly endorse what he's trying to say here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jepson. Any other elected members wish to speak? No. Okay, back to you, Councillor Canton.
Nothing further to add to my original point, so.
Okay, well, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you. So we will move to the next item, item 4.2, which is the annual plan for 2026-27, proposed changes, rates, and a decision to consult. Welcome back, Sue Davidson.
Thank you, Your Worship. We started the annual plan this year with a flat rate of 8.9%, which was forecast in the long-term plan 24 to 27. In February, we completed a line-by-line budget review, and we're looking to reduce costs. And then we got the opportunity to apply for more funds for LCLR and low cost and resilience and traction seals. So at the last meeting, I asked for feedback and I approached the Mayor subsequent to the meeting, and he agreed roading, obviously really important to council, and to look at adding in as much as we could. and take advantage of the opportunity. So part of the funds that we were applying for and I'd advised council of, I think, in the original paper, was 14.3 million. This was reduced. They actually confirmed the LCLR resilience part of the funds, and they were slightly reduced, but still 5.5 million, which is a great coup for us. So the report has been updated so that we could look at what the rates would be, and they've come in at 7.9% on average after 1% growth. But what we've actually done is added a lot more extra roading. So the extra roading provided for has been negotiated by our roading manager, Vinresh Singh, and so just a real coup. 5.5 of LCLR resilient seals, and we have a list of roads that we will get subsidy for. What roads such as Wintle Street, Golden Stairs Road, Heatley Road, Avoca North Road. So it's spread across the district. We provided for additional tracks and seals of 5.8 million, but we won't get the approval till April, so that won't be confirmed till then. We've put in unsubsidised roads of 3 million to be funded by debt, and obviously we'll be working to publish in the annual plan once these roads are known. We've also added in the Kaihu Valley Trail. You heard it at the last briefing. Amanda Bennett talk about government funding of up to 7 million if we put in our share. We had provided for this in the long-term plan, but not as a debt. We thought we would get subsidy for it, but we'll get more subsidy if we actually put in our share. So roading is really important to this community. We want to be able to spread this good news. Dependable roading is a key outcome of this council, and we need to celebrate the wins that we're getting with the opportunities from NZTA. The fund, and how we've done this is we've adjusted the funding to enable this. We've used savings we had from the Wood Street project and other roading areas. And also for some of the LCLR, we've provided debt for over 20 years. But this is going to be a significant improvement for our residents on our roads. This is one time and not ongoing, just to be clear. As well as this, in the annual plan, we'll be approving 1.5 million, or we've approved the agreement anyway, but 1.5 million has been included in economic development to pay for water to be accessible to our rural community. This will provide access for landowners to water for higher value horticulture and market gardening, and will increase employment in the area. So that overall this year, our proposed rates increases the 7.9% after 1% growth. I've put together the statement of financial position, the comprehensive revenue and expenses. There'll be slight changes because of the fact that my report was done at the very last minute to encompass the changes that NZTA had given us, but we hadn't changed the accompanying statements. But they're only minor. So things to note are debt at the end of 2027, would be 69.5 million, and our cash would have reduced to 6 million. Rates overall would be 60 million, which is slightly down on what we proposed on the LTP, but depreciation has increased quite markedly because of all the capital expenditure that we've been undertaking over the last couple of years. And do note the risks. We haven't put anything for supporting the CCO. The plan is that when it's established, that it should get its own establishment debt, but there may be timing differences because we're working with LGFA at the moment, but we can't actually get the company any of its own money until it's actually established. And the three councils may have to put money in, which we will get back, but there may be a timing difference. So we'll have to use our cash flow. So just, and we think that'll be all right for us. So I think this is a great outcome for council this year.
Thank you, Sue. Questions, councillor Williams? Did you have a question?
Worship. Yes, I just wanted to seek clarity, Sue, on the NZTA information that we've received. So we have actually secured that portion of funding from NZTA definitely, or is this?
So what we've done, I put in my paper 11.3 million. We've secured the 5.5 million, which is the LCLR targeted fund resilient seals. And there's a number of roads that we've identified with NZTA that they're willing to give us subsidy on. Some of them have already been with slips that have been completed, but a number of them are underslip resilience or drainage improvements, upgrades that are going to occur in this coming year. And I think we've got 18 months to use the money. And for the traction seals, they'll come back, which is 5.8 million, they'll come back to us in April with how much they'll approve at that time.
Okay, so that could still potentially change.
Yes, that could still potentially. And you recall when we were doing the 2024 long-term plan that NZTA changed quite a bit, but we're hoping there's not too much change this time.
Thank you, Nick. Would you like to step in and give some more clarity around?
Just to confirm, sorry, your worship.
If you come across, so you're in front of the microphone or you want to be heard online, please.
Happy to answer. Thank you, your worship. Happy to answer any questions relating to the roading things. And I think Sue highlighted it. The information we've received just very recently, not fully confirmed. The first bit confirmed on Monday, and we're just waiting for the second bit to be confirmed in the amount. So it's an allocation of budget that hasn't been spent by other councils. So we're just waiting to understand what our proportion of that will be.
Are there any other questions for Sue and Nick? No further questions. Thank you. You can stand down. We've got a staff recommendation before us. Can I have a mover, please? Okay, I will move the staff recommendation. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Rogers, thank you. Okay, well, we've been through a line-by-line review of these budgets to try and find savings. We've found savings. I think that we've landed in a position where we are able to deliver at a margin less than what was anticipated in the long-term plan, which was what we set out to achieve. But at the same time, we are getting a lot of good work done on the ground for our ratepayers. And one of the biggest concerns that we are all very aware of now, even the new councillors, is that one of the biggest beefs of our ratepayers is the condition of our roads. So we are planning to get good physical work done on the roads and take as many improvements as we can and get as best value for the ratepayers' dollar as we can from that money. I do note that some of that more recent allocation has still got to be tested through the process, but hopefully we can keep as much of that as being suggested. We'll move to that. So this has been a pretty robust review we've done. I'm pleased to see we've landed somewhere which is acceptable. I hope this is acceptable to the elected members and to our ratepayers. Thank you. Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, I think the roading, happy to see more funds and emphasis put on achieving a bit more with our roads. I think that's very important to our ratepayers. So yeah, pleased that we're doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Councillor Lambeth?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Ratepayers would always like to see that number come down, bearing in mind that 3 to 4 years ago, during that period, we managed to cut the rates increases back to have a more regulated, even amount, to come down below that with the increased project completion and less budget blowouts and have that number down, it's an achievement which I'm sure the ratepayer will be happy with. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lambert. Any other elected members wish to speak? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to thank the staff in the roading space and the work that they've put in to get this extra funding and, hopefully more funding for the traction seals. It is one of the greatest areas that ratepayers have dissatisfaction in. So I think anything we can improve, be of huge benefit to ratepayers across the district. So thank you.
Councillor Williams. Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you. We're not sure. Are we having some technology issues at the moment?
Just television issue.
That's okay. Oh, well, we'll carry on then. Like the good old days. We're moving to item 4.3, review of the fees and charges for 26-27. A welcome to Joy Hewlett.
Good morning, Your Worship, councillors. Bringing back to you the fees and charges. I take the report as read, and today I'm seeking your approval to take these out to consultation to the committee. Is there any questions?
Do you have any questions, members?
Yeah, just,
Councillor Jepson.
yeah, I know this is for consultation, so, this is, this business is usually getting out to consult and people can have their input on it. But on page 10, I think it is, you've got proposed fees and charges there. I'll just bring it up myself. Just want to just have some clarity on recovery of costs. Page 10, it's got, for example, review of building inspection. So
Building inquiries and pre-application.
Pre-application. See, it reverts to the inspection it's free for the first hour, is it correct?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. When it reverts to being, is it $208 an hour?
Up from 201.
Yeah. I understood that ratepayers could only be charged for actual cost, but would that be actual cost or am I incorrect?
It would be, through the chair, it would be based through actual cost, and then the building services manager would have added in the CPI to take it up.
So the CPI takes it up. So that's the assessed actual cost to deal with an issue. Right, thank you.
Which page was that, please?
Page 10
of the
fees and
charges document.
I imagine, sorry, if I may.
Can you just point me to what line you're referring to?
The categories and descriptions, building inquiries and pre-application meeting with a building inspector. And it's got fee and then proposed increase. First 15 minutes it's free and thereafter is at 208 up from 201.
Per hour.
Could I ask a quick question, Robert?
Councillor Canton.
I assume that the actual cost is based not only on the rate that you pay the individual for the time spent there, there's also an overhead recovery built into that?
Yes.
Yes. Through the chair, it is based on actual council officer time to, provide the information, provide that service to the customer. So it's giving essentially the first 15 minutes free, but after that, the hourly rate does kick in.
I think what I'm driving at is they're not paid $208 an hour.
That's correct. Yes, I wish.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering, down on page 14, some of the fees are going up and some are going down. So what's causing some of the fees to be reducing? That based on the actual costs as well?
Through the chair, that would be done. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what page you're referring.
Page 14 of the attachment, council professional fees.
The professional fees. Thank you. Yes, so there was a thorough review of the professional fees. So what they've done is they've actually got now a methodology for calculating it across the board. So that's something that we can take forward for future years. And so there was some adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
To that methodology.
Thanks.
Councillor Nathan.
Kia ora. I just had a question in relation to the animals in stock around the dog registration. I am aware that there are many dog owners within our community that don't actually register their animals. And obviously a lot of that is based on affordability. I'm just wondering with that fee of $78, which will go up to $80, that's the new suggested amount. Is there any movement in and around that to be more affordable for a lot of our families to even register? Because I do see if they will have to pay $300 if they have an unregistered dog. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to look at ways of getting our dog owners to actually register their dogs, but many don't because they actually can't afford to register their canines. Many situations, a canine in the family is a protector, but also a whānau member or a family member to that particular family. But would there be any? I'm just putting that out there because I know many that don't register because of affordability.
Yes, so what happens is when we're doing the revenue and finance policy, and you'll see in the beginning of this report, it puts what council has agreed will collect from fees and charges or from the general rate. So council can decide that it wants to have cheaper fees and charges, but it means we'll have to recover more from the general rate. Okay, so that's what happens. Someone has to pay, and it's the same, and you may want to add to how they came to the calculation, but that's the background.
Thank you.
Through your worship. Our fees for dog registrations are the cheapest in Northland. Well, 80% of those fees, the collection of those fees pay for 80% of us managing dogs in the area. The 20% comes from general rates.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Tanya.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just in relation to the services that may be still sort of under recovering costs, are that still the case? Are there services in there that where the fees are such that we struggle to recover cost?
Chair, it comes back to Sue's earlier point, the splits between cost recovery is in relation to the revenue policy. So that's set, and all the fees and charges flow from there to deliver on that expectation of, how much is going to be paid by rates, how much is going to be paid by the user of the service. So that's basically how the calculation works.
But there are some, to your question, there are some that are under. We've been advising you each month that building consents and to some extent resource consents are not meeting their revenue expectations and therefore likely not meeting the percentages set. And I think in the paper there are some, there's literally, I think there's three areas. We said animal control is not quite meeting its 80%. And what we might, that might lead us to look at next year when we look at the revenue and financing policy is there's three areas here I've identified: pensioner housing, animal control and building control are the three sort of big ones. There's a variation that we're not recovering the right amount from fees and charges, and it means that the general rates has to be more.
And that's through the mayor. I think that's the reason why I raised the question when I heard that we're the cheapest or the lowest thing around dog registrations. Is there? I suppose that's the question I want to ask: is is that fee set at the appropriate level?
Sorry, through the chair, Councillor Tane. So with respect to dog registration fees, we have our dog, it's not a big gap between us and others, firstly. 80% is we tried to cover our dog animal management. 40% is from general rates because the benefit is about that. That's what we feel the benefit is. Community gets a benefit from dog being under control. And what we try to do is entice people and ensure people to register their dog. Eventually, once the dog's registered, we've got about 5,100 registered dogs and about 500 dogs that we know of that are not registered. And then there's dogs we do not know of. But we can better manage them if we have them registered. And so we try to have a fee that recovers the cost for the benefit of that registering that dog owners. But we don't want it too high because we do want the dogs registered so we can manage them better.
So Lambeth.
Yeah, just moving back to the building fees one. In good times, it pays its own way. Am I correct in that? And we've had the worst construction year in 20 years. And of course, economies of scale. So are you expecting as the recovery comes through that you'll catch up with that and even it out?
Yeah, that's correct. It just fluctuates with building consent volume, significantly affects the amount of revenue. And the building consent fees are fixed by the legislation. So there's not much control we have on that aspect. So
would it be fair to say in the last 15 or so years, it's more than paid its way?
Yes.
So
Just one.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, just back to the animal control. Is there payment options available for dog registration, or does it have to be paid in one amount? I just wonder if that was an option.
Through the chair, I understand that there is no payment plans available. I think that it has been considered in the past, but it is there's a high cost on administration with that.
I was just trying to find a way to find maybe break it down for people so that it was a bit more easier to manage. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, thank you. You can stand. We have a staff recommendation in the agenda. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Canton, and a seconder, please. Councillor Williams, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Canton.
I'm happy. I don't think there's anything in particular there. It's nice to see a couple of them coming down. Apart from that, yeah.
Councillor Williams.
Yeah, I think it'll be good to go out for consultation and see what feedback we get back on this. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Any other elected members wish to speak? No, back to you, Councillor Canton.
Nothing to add.
To the vote, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. Okay, we're now moving to item 4.4, legislative delegations update. Welcome back, Joy.
Thank you, Your Worship and Councillors. I administer the delegations register, and back in 2024, there was a thorough review of all of the delegations, went right through the legislative, the RMA, and the financial delegations. I've just tried to give you a bit of background as to how the delegations are managed through local government. And in December 2024, it came in the Fast Track Approvals Act, and we've been approached recently by, so that missed our complete review. So from time to time, I will bring you back legislative updates as they happen, just little pieces. So with the Northern Corridor project progressing, we need to get some delegations in place because NZTA have requested our comment on the proposed project.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions on this item? No questions, very straightforward.
Just one quickly.
Councillor Canton.
So this will be basically giving the chief executive the ability to submit on NZTA's proposal, no?
Sorry, through the chair, he will sub-delegate to, to the.
But the council will be making a proposal on it? Or submission?
Yeah, through the chair, just a fast track process works by, we're expecting the application to be lodged April. And then there'll be the opportunity for council to provide comments. Council's role is pretty restricted here. It is to provide comments on draft conditions that are put forward by NZTA. So there will be that opportunity. It's pretty tight in terms of timeframes. It's 20 working days. So to be able to deliver on that, that's what we need the delegation under the fast track legislation.
I'm not sure whether it will be included within these, but will the council be making a submission on whether the road is tolled or not? Or does that fall outside of?
That falls outside the fast track legislation itself.
Any other questions? No further questions, thank you. You can sit down. Have a staff recommendation. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Tania, and a seconder. Councillor Nathan, thank you very much. Councillor Tania.
I think it's pretty straightforward, Your Worship. It's the truth.
Councillor Nathan.
I'd like to total board. It all looks pretty straightforward, so happy to total and proceed. Thank you.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Back to you, Councillor Tania.
Yeah, no, it's pretty self-explanatory, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Okay, we'll have a break now for 10 minutes until 11:45. Thank you.
Okay, new recommendation and A, like recommendation B delegates authority to the mayor and
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. We are now moving to item 4.5, long-term plan vision and community outcomes. We have a staff recommendation. I note that there are a couple of improvements that could be made to the document, and William will display for us a suggestion on how we deal with that through minor amendments. Okay. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lambeth, thank you. And speaking to this item is Michael Day, Interim Chief Executive. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Worship. This item, in some respects, is quite simple. The purpose is to adopt the vision and community outcomes for inclusion in the 27-37 long-term plan. At the start of each triennium and prior to each long-term plan, Council has an opportunity to review its vision and community outcomes. Council held a facilitated workshop earlier this year to discuss vision and outcomes. Attachment B is the outcome of that meeting, and we're looking to adopt that now. Short and simple.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No questions. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm pleased to see us taking this item forward in the development of our long-term plan. I think we had a very good facilitated workshop on this, and perhaps also suggest that we may have done a good job of this under the leadership of the former mayor, now Councillor Jepson, because we didn't really feel that there was a need to make too many changes and a few minor tweaks there, which is great that we can continue to take forward that vision and those community outcomes into our next long-term plan and give us some continuity. So I think that's great. Thank you, Councillor Canton. Were you the seconder? Who are? Councillor Lambeth, sorry.
Yes, no, it's all been said. We'll move on.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We are now moving to significant forecasting assumptions 27 to 37, and we have a staff recommendation. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. What we might do is invite Mr. Schreurs to come and speak to the paper first. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. I'll take my paper as read. Are there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Mark? Would you like to have him talk through the summary of his paper a little?
It might be in here, but could I ask when these growth assumptions by Infometrics were used?
Just the update was done sort of lead up to Christmas.
This past Christmas?
This past Christmas, yeah.
Very
They're dated 2025, but they're very current.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Canton, thank you.
How have their growth projections been in the past?
How the predictions, how these compared to
Yeah,
the
and
past?
that's, with time passed and you look back, were they pretty on the money or were they a bit shorter?
Generally, over the years I've been doing this, it's about a decade. We initially used to use Stats NZ. They're generally been pretty good. The exception is probably Mangawhai, which has a bit of a habit of exceeding the trends. Exceeding the projections. They should be, I suspect they should be pretty good this time around, given the experience that they've built on this. But yeah, Mangawhai, there have been times when, because we get annual revisions. So we track how we're performing against it. And if there's any major deviation, we can take action if we need to. But there was certainly a time quite some years ago now when I think we're still using the Stats NZ projections, and we considered potentially using the higher growth scenario for Mangawhai at that time. So generally they're pretty good.
Are there any other questions? You please, Mark, to talk us through recommendation B and the rationale around that.
Recommendation B. Here, okay. Now that's regarding the storms. So I've been struggling to get the team at NRC, the hydrology team, to give us a rough number. And when it comes to predicting the weather, when it comes to predicting the number of storms over the next 10 years, it's very difficult, obviously, to do that. And I was hoping they might give us a number based on recent history that we could use as a general sort of a guide, as a significant forecasting assumption. They haven't been, they're not so willing to do that without doing some further investigation. They like to prepare science based on a reasonable amount of modelling and investigation. So the proposal is to work with them to try and get a more refined number, but initially making an assumption of one major storm event with the potential to cause significant damage to council's assets during the 10-year period. And as we get further into the long-term planning process, we can revise that. So there is the ability to revise our significant forecasting assumptions further into the long-term planning process as information comes in. The idea here is by setting there's an assumption, it's a signal to staff to reflect on that and to plan for that. And there's various measures we can take to try and prepare ourselves to be more ready for another major storm event. A lot of that gets done anyway. A lot of it's just good practice. But by including that as a significant forecasting assumption, we can tie those actions back to a significant forecasting assumption and tell our story that we anticipate being exposed to severe weather events, and we are planning accordingly.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Worship. So would that be, well, one of the major things on that would be potentially the roading and perhaps funding and that kind of.
Yeah, although with setting significant forecasting assumptions, what we're doing is we're saying this is what we expect the likely scenarios we're going to encounter will be. In terms of responding to that, that's something which is set through the long-term plan. So there is a number of things that can be looked at, but it's putting that as your significant forecasting assumption doesn't commit you to those things, because that's what you'll do through the long-term plan. So, for example, council could maintain a bit more headroom within its debt ceiling, so that if we get hit by a big storm, we have the ability to borrow the funds needed to go out and repair the road network. That's one thing that could be done, but it doesn't mean that that's what you're going to choose to do. It just means that if you do choose to do something to that effect, you've got the significant forecasting assumption to tie that decision back to.
So it's just giving us some options that we can.
Yeah, sort of setting the direction to staff to go and come up with some ideas or to build that into the planning. So let's come back across this table through the long-term planning.
Councillor Lambert, then Councillor Nathan.
Yeah, assumption B talks about a climate storm. We've had a month now, Desert Storm 3, I suppose, but being an agricultural-based council and diesel being so reliant for the prosperity of our core businesses in the Northern Wairau and in Kaipara. Have you started or have you received any predictions or bad news stories about where we're heading?
In terms of diesel prices?
Yes, and how that's going to affect everything, right through to our contractors for roading, when we. Yeah.
There's been discussions around the office. These are not the only significant forecasting assumptions that the council will be adopting. And as we go further into the long-term planning process, we'll be looking to particularly things around, the track the economy is on, and the key one, of course, for us is affordability, household incomes, how those are tracking against living expenses, and when you go to set rates, making sure that the rates are affordable. So that's coming further into the long-term planning process.
Yeah, most of the farmers have done. I think the cameras are all, or most of them are in. Most of the hay's been put in with figures, but there's still the maize and all that cropping, which is big diesel users, as well as the produce going out of town. So it's not so much for the, I know it affects the private resident, but it's the guts of the industry that diesel runs on and farming communities. So thank you that you're looking after or looking at it.
Thank you, Councillor Nathan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just think it's important, given the current landscape that we're in at the moment. There's a lot happening over in Hawaii, flooding's happening, so the environment is changing quite, in a massive way. So I think for us to be prepared in some way, shape or form, or have some sort of due diligence there, it's just inevitable that we will be impacted with the way the weather is going at the moment. So thanks to the team for looking into that and what that could look like in the future.
Any other questions? No, okay. Thank you, Mark. You can stand down. We've got a staff recommendation before us. Can I have a mover, please?
Move that.
Councillor Canton and a seconder. Councillor Nathan, thank you. Over to you, Councillor Canton.
Nothing really to add on top of Mark's presentation. Seems to be, know what he's doing. Glad he's doing that job and not me.
Councillor Nathan.
Happy to support what's been presented to us, and yes, I think we're well prepared moving forward.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, just, I should have asked Mark when he was up here, but it'd be nice to get a timescale, Mark, of the events we've had in the last 50 years in our district, so that we can get a sense of perspective. I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Thank you, Councillor Canton.
Nothing further to add. No.
So the vote, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. We are now moving to item 4.7, the approval of expenditure to plan Canal K floodgate in the Raupo drainage district. And presenting this item is Mark Schruers. Welcome back, Mark.
Okay. So this item follows the Raupo Drainage Committee's meeting on the 24th of February. They are wanting to spend $350,000 from the Raupo Drainage District targeted rates accumulated funds. So this is cash, which is essentially it's cash in the bank. So for them to spend this money, there's no impact on rates. It's already been collected. And they're wanting to spend that getting the K Canal floodgate, what we call shovel ready, meaning that they'll get all of the necessary resource consents, do all of the detailed design, take all the steps necessary to be ready to go and start construction. They're also asking the council to put in the long-term plan, or to signal that the intention to put in the long-term plan, raising a debt to fund 40% of the construction costs of the K Canal floodgate, and that debt would be serviced and repaid by the targeted ratepayers in the Raupo drainage area. So they're looking to fund this from their ratepayer base there via debt, and directing the council, and they've asked the council staff continue to seek external funding. So a bit of a context here is that the local government, the central government have through their regional infrastructure fund, they have been giving out grant funding for flood protection projects, which are included in the Before the Deluge business case. And there's been a few tranches of funding awarded through that, including funding for the Dargaville to Koparu Stop Bank. And within the next tranche, which we're waiting to hear on, is the K Canal floodgate, and that's included in the Before the Deluge business case. We find that central government tend to favour giving funding to projects which are shovel ready, and where the council has the co-funding in place. So essentially, this is a signal to central government that we're getting this project shovel ready, and we're putting the co-funding in place. Try and give us the best chance of getting the funding from the central government for the project. So this, in a nutshell, that is the paper. Any questions?
Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wanting to confirm on point C, the wording, it says long-term debt funded by the district ratepayers. Should that be the Raupo Drainage District ratepayers?
Yes.
Just for clarity, thank you.
Councillor Canton.
Thank you, Worship. It says here, by putting this in, you avoid having to raise some of the stop banks. Two questions that. What's the total project cost to the council going to be? Just the three, there must be more on top of the 350, is that right?
So the 350 is the immediate cost, which will be to get things shovel ready. Yeah. It's the full cost to get things shovel ready. Then there's the total cost of constructing the project, of which we can we expect 60% may come as a subsidy from central government. I don't have the number. It's 5.4, is it?
Million, I think.
1.4 million. Okay.
So roughly 2 million or something like that, give or take.
I don't have the figures on my off the top of my head there, sorry.
But if it's 5 million, it's 40%. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what would raising the stop banks cost?
And I do not have that one. Apologies. I don't know if any of the team have an estimate on that, but be significantly more than that.
That's what I wanted to know.
It's quite some kilometres of stop bank, which is along that K Canal going essentially all the way back inland. K Canal both sides.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Any other questions? No, okay, thank you. Mark, you can stand down. We've got a motion before us there. I see that, sorry, a recommendation from staff. I see it's directing staff, probably should be directing the chief executive. You happy for that to be changed?
Recommendation C and D.
Directs the chief executive to, and C and D.
Are we going to amend the point that Councillor Rogers raised with the 40% long-term debt funded by the district ratepayers, or is it the Raupo Drainage District payers?
It's the Drainage District ratepayers.
So
is that correct?
I would need to take direction from my finance GM. Recommendation C directs the chief executive to include the project once scoped in the LTP, funded by 60% external and 40% long-term debt funded by district ratepayers or by the
Raupo Drainage District should be.
So it's from the targeted rate.
Okay.
Yes, it's the targeted rates.
Thank you.
So what's up with
so you're going to change this here to Raupo, RAUPO, the Drainage District ratepayers.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Yep.
All right.
Okay, here is the corrected staff recommendation. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Jepson and a seconder. Councillor Rogers, thank you. Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, look, this is the sort of real work that I support in terms of flood mitigation and managing what is a wonderful scheme, and the local input into it has been fabulous over the years. I just see in here it is cost savings by using Steve used for the support of the last one. Obviously, you guys are thinking about how to do this in a cost-effective manner. And I think that's a really good approach, using that local ability. In the last training, I visited the G Canal floodgate, and I was so impressed with the way that that project was run. And I just hope that as this paper here indicates, how that will transfer into the next one. The experiences learned, the materials that are already on hand, that speaks well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winters.
Yeah, having been on that committee, they are also anticipating that, you know, there's a lot been learnt from the first one that was made, and so yeah, I think the success of that, and then having all that information that they've gathered from the first project, it should be successful and good for the people that are going to be paying for it. Thank you.
Any other elected members wish to speak? No? Okay, back to you, Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, the other thing I would like to add is that it also makes use of government funding, the Regional Economic Development Investment Unit. It's money we need to grab to make our flood protection even stronger in the district, and I can just see it's a good use of the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We're moving to the review of the revenue and financing policy for the annual plan 26-27. Welcome to Christine Toms.
Afternoon all. I take my paper as read. We've had a couple of briefings on this over the last month or two. We discussed that the Local Government Water Services Act requires us to ring fence water for the 2026-2027 annual report. And stormwater remains with council. The guidance that we've received from briefings was to continue the 10% funding by general rate, reflecting the general public good component of stormwater. Wastewater funding transition by reducing the general rate for the upcoming annual plan from the 5% that exists at the moment to 2.5%, provides a transition phase. And we've received legal advice that that changes within the allowable change within the revenue and financing policy, and it doesn't trigger consultation. The Te Kopuru to Dargaville Stop Bank funding, there's complexities, as we discussed last time, around applying the cost to the existing drainage district ratepayers. So guidance we received was to continue with the general rate funding for that component and revisit once the drainage district review is complete. And if the move is decided to move into, when it's moved into the targeted rate area, public consultation will be required at that time. And yeah, have we got any questions?
Any questions on this item, please? Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, through the mayor. When are we expecting a review of all the schemes? Is that on the program sometime this year?
This coming year, there is a program for that. We have identified that there may be a risk in the delay because the contractor that we have is quite immersed in, we haven't written that in the report, sorry, quite immersed in the Three Waters change. So the work that's revolving around that may impact this, but we are establishing a time frame, and it should be done before the long-term plan.
If I may, just do we need, is it appropriate that we go to consultation with all these people on the drainage schemes, or are we doing it outside of consultation with them?
Are you talking specifically about the stop bank?
I'm talking specifically about all the drainage schemes throughout the district. There's how many? There's
28.
28. Are we inviting comments from them or,
Would be, absolutely, there needs to be.
but not going to general public consultation on it?
The chair, I don't think the process is clear yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No, okay, thank you. Christine, you can stand down. We've got a staff recommendation before us. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move it.
Councillor Canton. And a seconder, Councillor Tani. Thank you. Councillor Canton.
Yeah, just reading through that, that's something that I think we fleshed out pretty hard at the briefing 2 weeks ago, and it was really just confirming that pseudo decisions made then.
Thank you.
Moved.
Councillor Tani.
Yeah, I concur, we've been well briefed on this matter, and I think, happy to support it.
Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, excuse me, just very much a holding pattern at this stage until we get it actually sorted out.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. We're moving to item 4.9, which is the Treasury Policy Non-Compliance Decision on next steps. Speaking to this report is Julia Lee. Welcome, Julia.
Your worship and elected members. I present to you a report concerned with non-compliance with our Treasury policy. The Treasury policy that's in place outlines ratios for council to meet and monitor, which manages our risk surrounding debt maturity, liquidity and interest rate shocks. We currently have 2 loans totaling $7 million that are due to mature on the 15th of April next month. Normally, we'd be required to refinance this debt via a 4 or 5 year term under the Treasury policy. However, as the majority of council's debt relates to waters infrastructure, and this portion of debt is expected to transfer to the new Northland Waters entity no later than July 2027, it no longer makes commercial sense to sign up for longer term debt at the present time. So staff are seeking council approval to instead take out short-term debt in the form of a 12-month commercial paper agreement with the LGFA. This debt is considered safer, it's shorter term, and it attracts a cheaper interest rate than the longer term option. This will also enable council to have more flexibility and less restructuring of loans later on when the debt is eventually transferred. The current external debt balance is $44 million, which the $7 million is included in. And council's internal debt balance for waters related infrastructure is around $36.7 million as at the 30th of June last year, reported in the annual report. This will grow though as projects for waters infrastructure are completed. Last month at the Audit, Risk and Finance Committee, I presented this paper and the committee endorsed the approach, this particular approach that I'm seeking now as prudent management of our debts. The action that I'm seeking does need council approval as it's temporary non-compliance with our Treasury policy. We'll have more in our shorter term than we will in our longer term. It's expected that we'll only remain non-compliant until the debts are passed over to the waters entity, which, as I've said before, is no later than July 2027. And the loan covenants that we currently adhere to with LGFA won't be breached by this action. So In the report, I propose three options. I'm recommending option one, which is to temporarily breach compliance with Treasury policy. And I await any questions you may have.
Thank you, Julia, for your very clear and succinct summary of your paper. That's excellent. Does anyone have any questions of Julia? No, covered it all. Thank you. Stand down.
Thank you very much.
We have a recommendation from staff. And can I have a mover? Councillor Canton, seconded by Councillor Lambeth. Thank you, Councillor Canton.
Your Worship, I remember that briefing for the ARF committee. It was very concise, just like today's one was. I think it's a pragmatic step to take. It breaches a covenant for a short period of time and gives us some flexibility around the end of that lending to fold debt across to the water entity. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Councillor Lambeth.
Yeah, I can't beat what an accountant's just told us.
Yeah.
And what was presented. Great stuff.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Okay, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried. We'll move on to item 410, which is the membership of LGNZ 2026-27. And speaking to this item is Gillian Bruce. Welcome, Gillian.
Hello, Your Worship and councillors. Earlier this month, the representatives from LGNZ came and spoke to you about the benefits of being part of their representative body. Last triennium, the council decided to not be members of LGNZ, and this new triennium and the new council is an opportunity to consider whether you'd like to be members again or not. So are there any questions?
Any questions of Gillian on this item? No, you've got off very lightly. Thank you, Gillian. You can stand down. We have a staff recommendation which doesn't take a position on this. Did we have a mover, Councillor Jepson?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we do not join Local Government New Zealand and remain with the status quo.
We have a mover for Councillor Jepson is moving part A, so you can retain part A and remove part B, please. And do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Lambeth, thank you. All right, over to you, Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, oh, look, I had a good think about this, and I asked myself the question, could I identify any benefits we didn't have because we'd withdrawn for the previous triennium, and I couldn't come up with any. I think people should note that Christchurch, Auckland City, and a number of other councils are no longer members. I think we, as a small council, it can be argued we need those benefits, but actually as a small council, we're quite in a good, what would you call it, nimble position to make our own decisions. And quite often my observation of Local Government New Zealand is they're quite captured by interests that aren't representative of an a rural-based council, which is what we are. So I think there's advice. If you want to take advice, there's ample advice out there within the country that you can seek if you need advice, and we do that regularly. For example, I find the work of Infometrics tremendous when we look to make decisions on what's happening in our district and where we're going. I think there's ample ability to do those things without our membership. I think it can be a distraction being part of Local Government New Zealand. We're busy enough with big agendas and issues that we are handling locally, and we don't need those distractions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jepson. Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, thank you, through the Mayor. I see in the paper that was presented, that it points out that 71 of the 78 councils across New Zealand are member of LGNZ. I think that's although it is factual of the councils, but when you bear in mind the councils that are not members of LGNZ represent a majority of, quite an established majority of ratepayers in this country. So we're not in a minority, we're actually in a majority. When we have a look at our performance over the last triennium, and when we've got to go back and justify $54,380 plus just to become a member, I can't justify that at all. So I'm very much of the view of Councillor Jepson on that view.
Any other elected members wish to speak? Councillor Tani?
Just one of the things I struggled with was, even through the briefing and that, was to understand what the benefits were and what the value was to council and how that value could be measured. And I still couldn't see that coming through. So I just wanted to make that point, Your Worship, that for me it's around value-based and benefits.
Thank you. Councillor Rogers, then Councillor Williams.
I just feel our ratepayers would rather see that money spent on tangible things that actually they can see impacting their lives, like footpaths and paperwork. So yeah, that's where I stand on it. Thank you.
You, Councillor Williams.
Yes, I concur with what has already been said around the table. And I think, when we look at the reform, we've already sent off numerous submissions that we've already put together, the staff have put together, things like that. So I think, with the cost, 54,380, I agree with Councillor Rogers that it would be nice to use that money on tangible things for our ratepayers rather than this. Thank you.
Councillor Nathan.
Thank you, Your Honour, Chair. I just wanted to support all of my fellow colleagues here around the table. I think we're all in the same thinking that if it doesn't impact or help us in any way, shape or form, we're quite capable of actually doing it ourselves. So kia ora, that's my response. Thank you.
Councillor. I think we've just about had everybody speak, have we? Yeah, I'll just speak to this briefly. I think that we have been doing quite a good job of advocating for ourselves as a council, and that allows us to say specifically what we want to say in submissions to government, have those conversations. It's difficult when you go into a large advocacy organisation that are lobbying government for particular things to get your message across, because you're got a diverse range of views, and oftentimes what ends up being advocated for might not be what you actually want to achieve. So I think that is also a consideration in this. So I'll come back to you, Councillor Jepson.
I think it's been well covered. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, we will put the motion on the screen there to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you. We are now moving to item 412, which is the, 411, which is the road naming applications for approval. Debbie Ravji, thank you, Debbie.
That was done.
Separate cover. Find.
Chair, Debbie, you appear to be on mute.
Yeah. I did have it up. I need to
scroll down.
Are you impressed with us?
Debbie, you're on mute.
Yeah, finally, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm presenting the road name application on behalf of a developer today. seeking approval. And I'd like to take my paper as read. And would there be any questions?
Thank you, Debbie. Are there any questions? It appears that there are no questions. Thank you, Roy, and Debbie, you can step down.
Thank you.
We have a recommendation here to approve a large branch of road names. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Jepson, and a seconder, please. Councillor Williams. Councillor Jepson, thank you.
Yeah, I think just looking through these, there's a nice mix of names. I guess they've pretty much all come from people who've been involved in the developments, and they have reasons often are sentimental reasons, aren't they, for what they name something. But yeah, I think they all look reasonably good. Thank you.
And Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'm happy to support this application, and I think they've gone through, the LINZ channels, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and I concur as well that it's great to let these landowners have some say in how they brand their naming and their development. So good to support that. Any other elected members wish to speak? No. Councillor Jepson.
I've learned something. I look at the Manawa Code, which is the Maori word for mangrove, and as you know, I'm a fan of
mangrove.
Some mangroves.
I was actually. We may need to get another application at some point when he gets rid of them all or something.
Name changing it.
We could go. What's the word for weeding? No, we could go Manawa weeding. Thank you. That's all I got to say. I'm happy with moving that motion.
Thank you. Well, before you get yourself into any trouble, I'll put that on the vote. All those in favour say aye. Against? Motion carried. We are now moving to item 4.12, LTP Seal Extension Program Update and Approval to allocate remaining budget through June 2027. And speaking to do this is Nick Bennett's. Welcome, Nick.
We all know.
That's fine.
It's on that separate.
No, it's on the original.
I see.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and councillors. I take it, I'll take it the paper's read. This is about seal extensions. We've had a program running for the last couple of years with unsubsidised funding for $3 million for seal extensions. Throughout that program was allocated 3 roads and 4 projects. We have completed 3 of the projects, one project to be completed, which will start in April. It's anticipated when the $3 million was put forward, it was anticipated the $3 million will be used for these projects. Throughout that period of time, we've been able to manage to do these projects with an estimated value of around $2.3 million. So we have $700,000 left over from the total budget of $3 million that was originally thought to be spent on the unsubsidised work. That saving has been made through good management and coordination of the projects with our maintenance contractor. So we've been able to improve the value and extend the roads at a cheaper rate than was initially anticipated. What staff are asking for is that $700,000, that the difference between what was spent and what was allocated under the budget is allocated to the seal extension program further, with and primarily in the recommendation is that $700,000 is used for roads that will be subsidised by the ratepayer or by another local authority. An example of that is Auckland and the top end of Thames Road, or where we have health and safety and high cost maintenance areas. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Are there any questions? Councillor Canton.
Why does the funding have to go to roads that either have 50% or more of it being subsidised by someone else, or that it's, you know, there's some sort of safety deficiency, not just general sealing or resealing?
It's, sorry, through your worship, councillor Conran, Anton, the concept was try to get best use of the money, really. So greater roads sealed with contributions by ratepayers.
Any other questions? No. Okay. Thank you, Nick. You can stand down. We have a staff recommendation for you there. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Williams, thank you. And a seconder. Councillor Anton. Councillor Williams, thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, look, I think it's great to see that there were some savings in the initial program, and that there is money there now that we can utilise further across the district for these specific points that are in the recommendation. So I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Canton.
Your Worship. Yeah, just really to support the comment that it's nice to see getting more done with less, and it gives us a bit more to work with, and well done to the staff.
Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, it needs to be pointed out that it's a volume plus contribution plus growth that comes up with these metrics to where these roads are getting sealed. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, back to you, Councillor Williams.
Nothing further to add.
You will put this to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. We'll move to item 4.13, which is establishment of a Mangawhai Civic Building Working Group. Speaking to this item is Nick Bennett. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Your Worship. This paper seeks to establish the creation of a working group. The concept of the creation of the working group is to provide sufficient governance and oversight from the outset. As you're aware, at the briefing earlier in the month, we outlined the need to create a civic building. There are a number of compelling reasons for it.
Just the Chief Executive would like to speak.
That was a workshop. That was a PEX workshop. So
oh, sorry, PEX workshop. Sorry, the compelling reasons for that is the existing office and space we currently operate at the hub, and 1C isn't large enough to accommodate the staff that we currently have. We do not have the ability, well, the building does not meet IL4 conditions, which is required for an EOC. We do have in the long-term plan $6 million allocated for a library. So this paper is there it seeks to establish a working group, and the working group to focus on the feasibility study investigation of options to accommodate that.
Thank you, Nick. Does anybody have any questions? No, no questions. Okay, thank you, Nick. Stand down. We have a staff recommendation before us there. Can I have a mover, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. And a seconder.
I'll second it.
Councillor Tani, thank you. Councillor Rogers.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that we need to be looking into addressing the issue of lack of space and facilities. So I think it makes sense to appoint a working group to get the ball rolling and report back to us on our options going forward.
Councillor Tani.
Yeah, I think it's to tag on to that, Your Worship, I think it's important that the councillors over in the Mangawhai area have a part to play in this as well, so support that.
Any other elected members wish to speak?
Yeah,
Councillor Jepson.
words, yeah, thank you for those words, Mo. It's actually a real challenge, you know, because we don't know what the future of our council will be. So anything we do has to still serve the community, whether we have the need or not. So it has to be something that's really versatile for our community and will not end up in any way a white elephant, for example. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to get a really good solution for this. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Lambeth.
Yes, thank you, through the Mayor. Growth in Mangawhai is challenging. We have experienced the problems of just finding a suitable building to replace. So what I'm trying to emphasise is the risk of this development not being utilised in the future, whatever our destiny will be, is somewhat reduced because of the growth that is existing in Mangawhai at the moment. So commercially, it's a very good option to investigate this. Thank you.
Councillor Lambeth. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Rogers.
I think we've got a good team there with common sense, down to earth thinking to come up with a good solution. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And we'll move to item 414, is the local governance statement 2025. And speaking to this is Gillian Bruce. Welcome, Gillian.
Thank you. Every triennium, we're required under the Local Government Act to publish a local governance statement, and that needs to be delivered within 6 months of the new council being appointed. So I'm here to advise you that we have met our obligations under the Local Government Act. This paper is just for noting, for your information, so that you know that we have met our obligations. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Gillian. Does anyone have any questions on this item? No questions. Okay, thank you, Gillian.
I'll move that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jepson. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Nathan, thank you. Councillor Jepson.
As Gillian Bruce pointed out, it's just an obligatory paper that we have to note. So I'll got nothing further to add.
Thank you. And Councillor Nathan.
You, Chair. Just supporting obviously what's been presented, and it's great that we meet the requirements. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We'll move to item 5.1, which is the exceptions report. And speaking to this is Julia and Michael, Chief Executive Michael.
Thank you,
Michael.
Your Worship. I'll introduce it. We've got Julia here to speak to it from a financial perspective. This is a standing item on the agenda, updated monthly, and what you've got is the exceptions report for February 2026 here. The staff team are happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Does anyone have any questions on this item, please? Councillor Williams.
Your Worship, just looking at the capital expenditure summary for February, I note that there's still some quite low percentages here, completion percentages. I just wonder, do we know what carry forwards we may be looking at the moment, or are we still have
still
get to the end?
Yeah,
financial year first.
We've still got 4 months of the year left, but it is certainly something on our agenda that we will be looking at in the next couple of months. I'll make a point of bringing this up in the team and hopefully getting that work starting.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was anything there that, you know, the reasons for any holdups or anything like that, particularly like stormwater, 30%, solid waste.
I don't actually know off the top of my head those reasons, but looks like Sue might have some information.
I couldn't hear because of the rain.
Yeah, it was just a question on the CapEx spend, the completion year to date, and whether we've got any information on carry forwards at this stage into next year, or why they are tracking so.
So two of the largest projects is the Dargaville Town Hall, which council stopped, and the library hasn't progressed. So then some of the monies, I think, were put forward this year for the Mangawhai Library. We're not likely to, we're only just sort of starting the planning of that.
I couldn't hear the question because of the rain.
It was about the lower capital projects. So I've described in open spaces about the Dargaville Town Hall and about the Mangawhai the library.
There's the Dargaville Town Hall. There's also the Takaroa Main Pine Beach wastewater treatment plant upgrade. And there's a couple more water projects as well that are multiple year projects. So only the beginning of the spend you'll see in this financial year. But you'll see next week at our briefing item of a project delivery that we're still smashing through our capital work, and we're reducing the amount that is sitting in that yet to begin space.
Okay, that's great, thank you.
Other questions, please? Councillor Jepson.
Yeah, just looking at Glen Scully closed landfill drainage improvement and recap. Just want to get some background. Who identifies the need for the drainage and the recap, and what areas involved, and what is the, how would you call it, the process? So, you know, like it's one. First of all, who establishes the need?
Activity managers.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer some of that. So we identified that we had a number of closed landfill sites that needed to be investigated. We went through and investigated those and identified the ones that work needed to proceed on them. And Matches has been leading the majority of that work, but we work with environmental specialists, landfill specialists, things like that.
I'd like to see the progression of that, who did the work, how they identified it, and I mean, we're pretty much in the dark on these closed landfills. I see we've got over 1.2 million, is it, over 3 years for remediation and looking after these things. I'd like to know, first of all, I'd like to know how necessary it is. Glen Scully's in a sand environment, isn't it?
Okay, we could bring back a briefing paper.
If you would, I'd like to see it.
Executive Michael Days can speak to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to say the same thing that Hayley has mentioned, that we will bring a paper to a council briefing to ascertain and outline the background, what we're doing, what the next steps are planned, and so we can have some discussion about that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions on this item? No, okay, thank you. You can stand down.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a recommendation to note report. I'm happy to move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Great that we are getting reasonable reporting here. It is continuing to improve and we'll keep our eye on it. Thank you, Councillor Canton.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We're moving to item 5.2, the resolutions register update, and speaking to this is Chief Executive Michael Day. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Worship. Resolutions register is a standing item on the agenda. We do it each month. Team are here to answer any questions that you may have with regards to any resolutions in the open council resolution stage.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions? 3, 2, 1. We have no questions on this item. We have a staff recommendation to note this. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Tane, and a seconder, Councillor Williams. Thank you, Councillor Tane.
Yeah, no, pretty straightforward, Your Honour, sorry, you met. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Support.
Councillor Williams.
That's a report.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against. Motion carried. We now have a recommendation to move into public excluded. I am happy to move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Is there any discussion? No? Okay, we will put that to the vote. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. The seconder was Gibson. Sorry. And with that, we will adjourn for lunch.